Wow. I can't stop thinking about the Titanic movie, Dr. Owl. It was so big and beautiful and so sad.
Affirmative. My optical sensors were leaking a strange saline solution, and I have a question. My logic circuits are fizzing. How does a giant boat made of metal float in the first place? Metal goes clunk to the bottom. My spare bolts sink every time.
You are absolutely right. Emma, it is a very sad story, and it's completely okay to feel that way when we think about it. The most important stories are often the ones that stir up big feelings. And you know, even from sad events, we can learn so much. The story of the Titanic is also a powerful tale of incredible science, amazing engineering, and huge dreams. And the world learned very important lessons from it that help keep people safe even today. It's such a big and important topic. I think to truly understand it, we'll need a special 3-part mini-series to explore it all. What do you say? Hoot hoot! Hello, curious minds! You're listening to STEM with Dr. Owl, where big questions turn into fun adventures.
Hi, I'm Emma, always full of questions and ready to explore.
Ziggy here. I know a zillion facts and 0 ways to share cookies.
If you like our show, please share with a friend, a teacher, or your whole class.
Oh, your neighbor's cat.
A mini-series. Yes! Can we start right now?
Science-tastic. Will we learn about the giant metal floating magic?
We certainly will, Ziggy. For our first episode, let's go back to the very beginning and find out how this incredible ship was even built. Let's start with your excellent question. How does a giant steel ship float? I have a trivia question for you both, and for all our explorers listening. True or false? A heavy steel ship floats because steel is lighter than water.
That sounds like a trick question. When I drop a spoon in the sink, it sinks right away. So I think false.
Boost. My turn. Steel is super heavy. Water is splashy and not heavy. But the ship floats. Logic error. Does it fill up with anti-gravity jelly beans? I will guess false.
You are both correct. It is false. To understand why, let's do a little experiment in our minds. Explorers at home can even try this later with some Play-Doh or clay and a sink full of water. With a grown-up's permission, of course.
Ooh, a mind experiment. I'm closing my eyes.
Okay, imagine you have a ball of Play-Doh. It's squishy and dense. If you drop that ball into a tub of water, what happens, Ziggy?
It goes to the bottom, kerplunk, like my spare bolts. No floating, not even a little bit.
Exactly. Now, here comes the magic part. What if you take that exact same ball of Play-Doh, same weight and everything, but you flatten it out and shape it into a little boat or a bowl? What do you think will happen if you put it in the water now, Emma?
Well, it's the same amount of Play-Doh, so it's the same weight. But it's a boat shape now, so it's hollow in the middle. I think it will float.
Precisely. And that is the whole secret. It's not just what something is made of, but its shape. This brings us to our super cool science word, buoyancy. Can you say it with me? Buoyancy.
Buoyancy. Does that mean the water is a bouncy boy? Beep, boing.
Ho ho! That's a great way to remember the bouncy part, Ziggy. Buoyancy is a special kind of upward push from the water. Imagine the water is a giant magical trampoline. When the little clay ball sits on it, it's small and heavy for its size, so it punches right through. But when the clay boat sits on the water, its weight is spread out over a much bigger area. It pushes down on the water, and the water pushes right back up, holding it afloat.
So the boat shape helps it get a bigger push from the water.
You've got it. The boat shape does two things. First, it makes the boat hollow, so it's full of very light air. And second, its big, wide shape pushes a lot of water out of the way to make room for itself. We call that displacing water.
Displaced? Is the water sad that it had to move? Did it lose its spot in line?
Ho ho! That's a funny thought, Ziggy. Displaced just means moved aside. The more water the ship moves aside, the bigger the upward push it gets from the water. The Titanic was so enormous that it displaced a huge amount of water. That giant upward push, that buoyancy, was much stronger than the ship's weight, holding up all those millions of pounds of steel like it was a rubber ducky.
Wow! So buoyancy is the water's secret superpower. So what was the Titanic actually made of to be so strong? Was it just one giant piece of steel?
Not quite. Imagine building the biggest Lego model you've ever seen. The Titanic was built from thousands of huge steel plates. And to hold them all together, workers used over 3 million special metal pins called rivets. They would heat a rivet until it was glowing hot. Put it through holes in 2 steel plates, and then hammer the other end flat.
3 million rivets. My processors calculate that is 2,999,000 more rivets than I have in my entire body. Were they tasty?
Ho-ho! I don't think so, Ziggy, but they were incredibly strong. Now, a floating ship is great, but it also needs to move. Any guesses how the Titanic moved across the ocean? Did it have giant robot legs?
Beep stomp, boop stomp. That would be inefficient, but very cool.
I saw in the movie it had those huge smokestacks. So it wasn't wind. Was it an engine?
Exactly, Emma. The Titanic had enormous steam engines. Think about a kettle when it boils water. The steam comes rushing out with a lot of power, right? The Titanic had giant furnaces, like huge ovens, where workers shoveled coal to boil massive amounts of water. This created powerful steam that pushed parts of the engine, called pistons, back and forth. This power then turned 3 giant propellers under the water.
Propellers, like giant spinny fans for fish. Whirr! That sounds powerful.
Incredibly powerful. Now, the builders of the Titanic wanted it to be the safest ship in the world. They called it Unsinkable. They designed it with special safety features. One of the most famous was its watertight compartments.
Watertight compartments? What does that mean?
Let's imagine an ice cube tray. If you pour water into just one little cube section, it doesn't spill into the others, does it? The Titanic was built like that on the bottom. It had 16 of these big rooms, or compartments. The idea was that if 1 or 2 compartments got damaged and flooded with water, the walls would keep the water from spreading to the others, and the ship would still be able to float.
That's so smart. So it really did seem like it was unsinkable. It was huge, strong, powerful, and had a special safety design.
It certainly did. It was a true marvel of engineering for its time. They used the best science and technology they had to build a ship that was not only luxurious, but also felt incredibly safe. But there was another part of the safety plan that was very important: the lifeboats. And we'll talk more about those and the ship's amazing first and only voyage in our next episode.
Ooh, a cliffhanger. Beep. My anticipation circuits are buzzing.
That's all the time we have for today, explorers. We learned how buoyancy made the massive Titanic float, how it was built with steel plates and rivets, and how powerful steam engines turned its propellers. Join us next time as we set sail on the Titanic's maiden voyage.
That was so much fun, Dr. Owl. I hope all our explorers had a great time too.
Hoot hoot! We loved having you with us. If you don't want to miss our next adventure, follow us on your favorite podcast platform.
And if you know a friend who loves exploring too, share our podcast with them.
If you have a question or a topic you want to learn more about, leave us a comment. See you next time.